Welcome to the wacky world of the 1960s, where car designers clearly had more imagination than common sense. This was the decade of muscle cars and sleek classics, sure, but also a time when engineers thought it was a brilliant idea to make cars that swim, wobble on three wheels, or fit only one person. Some were downright dangerous, others painfully impractical, and a few just made people laugh or cry at the sheer absurdity. Today, we're taking a deep dive into 7 of the dumbest cars ever made in the 1960s. Machines that promised innovation but delivered disaster. Buckle up, well, if you can find a proper seatbelt, because these automotive flops are as hilarious as they are horrifying. Number 1. 1961 Amphicar 770. Ladies and gentlemen, meet the Amphicar 770, the car that couldn't decide if it wanted to drive or drown. Imagine a boardroom in 1961 where some genius stood up and said, "You know what America needs? A car that's also a boat." And instead of laughing him out of the room, they actually built it. Now, on paper, it sounded futuristic. Drive it to the lake, splash in, float around, and come back out. James Bond vibes, right? Except in reality, the Amphicar was neither good on land nor water. On land, it crawled along like a lazy tortoise. In the water, let's just say the Titanic had better steering. And if you were unlucky enough to spring a leak, congratulations, you now owned a very expensive anchor. Oh, and let's talk safety. Driving on the highway at 7 mph? Dangerous. Floating in a lake with zero reliability? Suicidal. Yet they marketed it as the fastest car on the water and the fastest boat on the road. Cute slogan, shame it was pure comedy. In the end, fewer than 4,000 were made. Why? Because people realized you don't need a car that swims, you need a car that works. So, sometimes combining 2 great ideas just makes one stupid product. Like peanut butter and motor oil, they don't belong together. Number 2. 1962 Peel P50. Behold the Peel P50, the Guinness World Record holder for the world's smallest production car. Which sounds charming until you realize it wasn't a car so much as a rolling shoebox with headlights. It fit exactly 1 person and 1 grocery bag, if you were lucky. Its design philosophy was simple. Strip everything away until you're left with the bare minimum that can legally be called a car. 3 wheels, 1 door, a tiny 2-stroke engine that sounded like an angry lawnmower, and no reverse gear. Yes, you heard right, no reverse. If you parked wrong, congratulations. You were now a contestant in the push-your-own-car Olympics. The Peel P50 became infamous for looking ridiculous, moving even worse, and being about as safe as a paper helmet. Imagine being in traffic with full-sized sedans towering over you like predators. A sneeze from a passing truck could probably blow the P50 into the next lane. It was marketed as a city car, but it was really just a novelty. Practicality? Zero. Comfort? None. Style? Only if you thought clown cars belonged on public roads. The P50 wasn't just small. It was a bold reminder that sometimes shrinking an idea doesn't make it better. It just makes it absurd. Number 3. 1960 Plymouth Valiant, 1st Gen. Ah, the Plymouth Valiant. Chrysler's proud attempt at making a stylish compact car. And by stylish, I mean something that looked like a sad insect with a sinus infection. The design team must have asked themselves, what if a car could look both confused and embarrassed at the same time? Mission accomplished. The early 1960s were all about compact cars. Europe had the Beetle, Japan was making tiny economy cars, and America, well, America gave us the Valiant. It had these awkward, bug-eyed headlights, bizarre body lines, and tail fins that looked like someone forgot to finish the sketch. Now, mechanically, it wasn't awful. The engine was reliable enough. But here's the thing. When your car makes people laugh before you even start the engine, you've already failed. Chrysler wanted to compete with the Volkswagen Beetle, but instead of a cute little icon, they gave us an alien spaceship from a bad sci-fi B-movie. And marketing? Oh, they tried. Ads promised European flair with American muscle. Spoiler alert, it had neither. Sales were meh, reputation was worse, And by the time Chrysler fixed the design, the damage was already done. So now you know that looks matter. You can have the heart of a lion under the hood, but if the outside looks like a rejected toy from the Jetsons, nobody wants to drive it. Number 4. 1961 Dodge Lancer. Now let's talk about the Dodge Lancer. Proof that Chrysler just couldn't stop embarrassing itself in the early 60s. The Lancer was supposed to be Dodge's sleek, sporty, compact car. Instead, it ended up looking like a confused mashup of every bad design trend of the decade. First problem, proportions. The Lancer had the stance of a marathon runner wearing clown shoes. Too long in some spots, too short in others. The chrome trim? Random, unnecessary, and slapped on like decoration from a kindergarten art project. Dodge claimed it was distinctive. Yeah, distinctive in the same way a mullet is distinctive. And the interior? Plastic everywhere, with styling choices that screamed, "We're out of ideas, but hey, shiny stuff distracts people." Spoiler, it didn't. Mechanically, it shared DNA with the Plymouth Valiant, which meant it was reliable, but also uninspired. Nobody wanted to be seen driving one. It wasn't sporty, it wasn't classy, and it wasn't practical. It was the beige wallpaper of cars. Unsurprisingly, the Lancer flopped so hard that Dodge pulled it from the market after only a couple of years. They quietly replaced it with the Dodge Dart, which, while boring, at least wasn't a total embarrassment. So what you learned is, you can't sell a car on identity crisis. Pick a lane, sporty, practical, or luxurious. Don't try to be all three and end up being none. Number 5. 1960 Chevrolet Corvair, early models. Ah yes, the Chevrolet Corvair. At first glance, it looked like Detroit was finally getting creative. Rear engine, sleek body, a kind of American Porsche for the everyman. People loved the idea. Then came reality. This car handled about as well as a drunk giraffe on roller skates. You see, Chevy engineers decided to cut corners with the rear suspension, giving it a swing axle design. Translation: the rear wheels tucked in and out like a cheap folding chair. At slow speeds, not a big deal. But on highways, suddenly your family car became a carnival ride nobody asked for. One sharp turn, and you'd flip faster than a pancake. Then Ralph Nader showed up with his book Unsafe at Any Speed, and boy did he light Corvair's funeral pyre. The car went from innovative compact to death trap overnight. It didn't matter that Chevy tried to quietly fix the suspension later. The damage was done. The Corvair became a punchline, a courtroom exhibit, and a corporate embarrassment. It's ironic, because the Corvair could have been a true game changer. Instead, it taught everyone that revolutionary design means nothing if you forget basic physics. The Corvair wasn't just unsafe, it was PR suicide on 4 wheels. Number 6, 1966 Bond Bug, prototype phase. Now let's talk about the Bond Bug, a 3-wheeled sports car that looked like someone parked a traffic cone sideways and called it a day. It was developed in the late 60s, officially launched in 1970, but its prototype roots trace right back to the era of questionable design decisions. The Bug had one goal: be the funky, futuristic car for young drivers. What it ended up being was the punchline of every stability joke. 3 wheels, with all the weight in the front, meant it handled about as gracefully as a unicycle on ice. Take a corner too fast, and you weren't driving anymore? You were rehearsing for a stunt show. And the design? Imagine an orange wedge of cheese with doors that lifted like a spaceship hat. Sounds cool on paper, but in reality, you looked like you were crawling into a giant lunchbox. The tiny 700cc engine gave you a blistering top speed of about 75 mph downhill with a tailwind. It tried to be fun, quirky, and rebellious, but it landed squarely in the territory of impractical, unsafe, and just plain silly. The Bond Bug wasn't a car for cool kids. It was a car for people who desperately wanted attention, just not the good kind. Number 7, 1969 Subaru 360, and finally, the Subaru 360, affectionately known as the Ladybug. Cute name, shame about the car. Imported to the US in 1968, it promised to be cheap, efficient, and friendly for first-time drivers. What Americans actually got was a plastic toy with the structural integrity of a soda can. The 360 was powered by a two-cylinder, two-stroke engine producing a laughable 25 horsepower. 0 to 60, forget it. 0 to 30, maybe, on a downhill. And safety? The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration basically declared it unsafe at any speed, rivaling the Corvair in its reputation for danger. The press shredded it. Consumer Reports famously labeled it unacceptable, which is the automotive equivalent of being told, "Don't quit your day job." Meanwhile, buyers realized they hadn't purchased a car. They'd purchased a motorized coffin with wheels. Subaru hoped the 360 would be their big U.S. breakthrough. Instead, it nearly torpedoed the brand before it even got started. The car became a symbol of how not to enter the American market. Underpowered, underbuilt, and overpriced for what little it offered. The Subaru 360 might have been endearing in Japan's tiny city streets, but in the land of Cadillacs and Mustangs, it was a joke, and not even a good one. And there you have it. The 7 most ridiculous, impractical, and downright dangerous cars of the 1960s. From swimming cars to rolling shoeboxes, these automotive innovations prove that sometimes creativity goes horribly wrong. Whether they made you laugh, cringe, or both, these cars are a hilarious reminder that not every idea belongs on 4 wheels. If you enjoyed this ride through automotive history's worst decisions, hit like, subscribe, and share before you consider letting one of these monstrosities anywhere near your driveway.